Up next, we have our next speaker. Now it's time to dive into one of the most important aspects of modern web development, performance. Please join me in welcoming Dhananjay Kumar, the Director of Engineering at Make My Trip. Dhananjay, Dhananjay has been instrumental in shaping the engineering strategies at one of the biggest travel platforms in the world. His expertise lies in building high-performance, scalable web applications that deliver seamless user experience. Today, he's here to talk about a topic that is crucial for every front-end developer: performance. The performance pipeline is the process of optimizing how web applications are loaded and interacted with by users. Dhananjay will walk us through the best practices, tools, and strategies that he and his team at MakeMatrix use to create fast, reliable, and efficient front-end systems. So without further ado, let's welcome Dhananjay to the stage.
Thanks a lot. I think quite exaggerated, but thanks for the kind words. Good morning, everyone. Few lines Chaitanya has already told that you guys kind of ensure that you are turning up on a Saturday morning. I will not repeat, but I repeat it. Okay, so first of all, thanks Chaitanya. I mean, uh, what you presented to us, I think all of us are still thinking, right? It was just a magical world. So thank you to take us through a state where a design can be converted into code without any deviation. Maybe something which all of us aspire to. And you have presented it where you made it look like a effortless. So, so that's where we are going to start. Okay. Cool. So all of us have seen that if we use Blade, what happens, right? We have seen Chaitanya has followed Blade not only in his company, he has also followed Blade in his presentation. Now let me show you all. If we do not use Blade, what happens? This happens. So this is without Blade, right? So what I'm trying to tell you over here is, you would have observed every slide was consistent. There was a theme, right? That's what I think we try to achieve the mid-web for design system. We are yet to do that. Great. So let me just come to the topic which I wanted to bring to this stage. Slightly philosophical, but a bit of nuggets which I think all of us we could use to ensure that we are moving in the right direction. Before that, I am Dhananjay. I work with Make My Trip Engineering. Uh, I describe myself as someone who knows a bit of lots of things, not someone who is master of something. So maybe give me your questions accordingly. Great. So this is the 3 points which I want to cover. First is performance. Performance is something all of us relate to, but maybe the way we relate is very, very different. For me, the performance might be different, the way maybe someone else is kind of achieving it. So what we will do, we'll try to set a ground rule that what kind of performance we are going to talk about. We'll delve into some performance nuggets. And the last one, I think that is where not only to engineering team, but maybe it will also relate to product and everyone else. Then how do I ensure the performance is not one-off incidents? Performance becomes part of your life cycle, right? Performance should be embedded into the product development. So that's going to be the focus. So as we saw in the previous slide, this is the way I see a very simple web application. Any web application at minimum is going to have something like this, right? You will have a client through which you are accessing it. You will have a server, you will have application layer origin from where you are serving it. You may have a CDN. Now that we are talking about performance, so you should have a CDN for sure. Now, if you see, I have chosen this color with some thoughts. The green ones are the one, these are the one which are levers available to us as a developer, where we could control something, right? For example, the moment I am preparing my application as server, there are multiple things which I can do to kind of keep my system always in check, right? I can always ensure that how much is my document size. I can always ensure what kind of assets are getting embedded and all, right? So that's a controlled environment. Then I transfer all the assets to a CDN to ensure that these assets are reaching to the end user in the most optimal manner. Again, maybe a bit of control. Once your assets are served at the client, what you do is you try to tell, okay, not all the things which I have shipped to browser or to app is going to change every now and then. So it's a combination of static and dynamic stuff, right? So you would want to reuse your static deliveries. Whatever you have delivered once, maybe you would be interested that, okay, why don't you keep a copy at your end so that next time when you come, it should not be transferred over the wire. So these are some of the controls which we have. What is in maybe red, pink, whatever color you could see, this is the area which is not in our control, right? Very simple example, someone is accessing makemytrip.com, sitting somewhere on some sort of device, on some sort of network. I don't know how much time the data will take to get transferred because that's proportional to the bandwidth maybe. But I just cannot use it as an excuse that, okay, I don't know, maybe my user is on a flaky network, patchy network, so why don't he upgrade? I can't say that, right? So I have to do something about it. I have to ensure that even if you're coming to 7th floor in a lift and your network is very, very, almost non-existent, it's still your application should be accessible. How do I do it? We'll come to it. But yeah, that's the ground I wanted to kind of set. So my whole next set of slides will be kind of hovering around it, the performance which we just now defined. So we have spoken about performance, we have spoken about some of the levers. I'll just quickly run through some of the popular line items or checklists which we follow to ensure that our stuffs are always optimal. Most of you are already aware. It's not in any specific particular order. Whatever comes to my mind, I have just kind of added to this slide. So you ensure that your application has a great web vital score, right? If you are an SEO, you have to do anyway. So I hope you understand LCP, INP, CLS. Why INP is in bold? I think March 12th, if you guys remember, that's the date. Google decided that, okay, enough is enough. Either you adhere to my INP guidelines or you may start losing your rank, right? So all the people who work towards SEO, they would have seen a dip maybe on their performance charts on Google Search Console. We also did, and it was a heavy meeting, right? And INP wasn't something which is very straightforward. It took lots of tweaks, lots of change in our process to kind of fix it. I'll not go into detail. There are some case studies which are published. Redbus team has published something, and maybe you can go through it. Of course, you have to ensure that whatever assets you are transferring to the client is highly optimized. You want to ensure that the minimal stuffs are getting transferred. You don't want to transfer everything on the first page. So that's where you would do chunking, you will do compression, minification, all of it. The last line, right? This is something which where I'm interested into. That whatever I have now shipped, all these assets have reached to destination. In this case, destination is let's say browser, I am using some headers to give some signal to my browser that, hey browser, here are this 10 stuff. At least keep this 5 stuff always with you. Do not ask, right? If the user is coming second time, third time, fourth time, you should not be asking this asset again and again. Even if you ask, give me a some sort of a signal that okay, you have a copy, I will not transfer. You remember I was talking about data transfer? So that's where maybe we are talking about that, okay, I can use these headers to establish an agreement between client and the server, telling that if you have a copy, also tell me that you have a copy so that I do not transfer. That is the total asset, total payload which is going over the wire is always controlled. So we'll go into deep. So before we go into some of the solutions, let's do a very quick check. So I have opened Make My Trip. I hope all of you have used for various purposes, right? Is it like visible? Can you guys see the dev toolbar? Cool. So let's just spend some time on this, and I just want to establish some fact. So if you just see this right side column, it says size, you would see lots of JavaScript files and other static assets. They are right now being served from memory cache. That means these are the assets which are definitely, we have set some sort of header where we are saying, okay, you keep this file with you for some time. This is in seconds, 86,400, which is equal to 1 day. I don't know why 1 day, but yeah. So we have kept 1 day. Similarly, there will be something which we would have kept for 1 year and likewise. So here is a control which we are using and everyone uses to give a signal to this browser that okay, if this asset is with you, keep using this asset until this expires. Now very quick trivia. When I say okay, this asset, whatever webpack manifests some hash.js, it has a max age of 695 and access control max age is 86,400. When I say it is 86,400, since when? Is it clear? Is it obvious? Any attempt? Yeah? Anyone? Sorry? First time logging. Okay, anyone else? Yeah. So I heard first time login, first load. Okay. No, I think good attempts, but yeah, actually what it means is when this file was generated at the server, right? Not when it was kind of downloaded at the client, right? So this is very small number, right? 1 day, but assume that this file was served with a header where I'm telling you it is for 30 days, right? So maybe this file is generated sometime at the server. For the next 30 days, if this user is coming from the same browser again and again, he need not to kind of get it a newer copy. But anyway, the point which I wanted to kind of stress upon, it is like a promise. So I, as a Make My Trip developer, I made a promise to this user who is accessing, this asset is delivered to you. Now you keep visiting me for next 1 month. You need not to transfer this much byte. And how much byte is this? Let's also see that. So if you see, there is some file with 218 KB and likewise, right? So these are heavy files, right? And total JS, if you see, we have downloaded roughly 1.2 MB, right? So it's quite a cost. And maybe this is one of the optimized site, right? The HTTP archive, which collects the data from various popular sites, they say on an average, when you visit a site, the average data transfer only for JavaScript could be anywhere from 750 KB to maybe 2 MB, right? So we are maybe somewhere in the middle. But the point is, someone who is accessing this application is actually incurring a lot of cost. And right now we only talked about JavaScript. Don't forget, we also have CSS, we also have images, we also have fonts, we also have various other stuff. So that is heavy cost, right? So while serving it, I'm making a promise to this user that okay, pay this cost once for next 1 month. This is free, right? You should not be charged for any data transfer. But am I really doing that? So what happens if you see this file, right? There are some hashes. And why these hashes are appended to the file path? For a specific purpose that tomorrow when I do a new release, I'll change this hash so that the browser would say, okay, this it's a new asset. So I have to download it again. Though I made a promise in the beginning, keep it for 30 days, now I am kind of breaking my promise. How often we do it? Okay, how often we do a web release? Sorry? Once a week, you're optimized guy. Okay, anyone who do every day web release every day? Okay, I see one hand, two hand, three hand, or so many hands. Anyone who does multiple times in a day? Okay, great. Okay, don't accept these sites. No, kidding that. There are solutions. But see what's happening here, right? Okay, let's go back to the point which I was trying to make. I'm making a promise to this user of mine who is accessing, and I'm telling, okay, boss, you have paid cost to me. Ensuring that you will not be charged if you come to this until this max age, right? But the release happens, hash changes, promise is broken. Not only that promise is broken, the sad part, whatever is the size of the file, if it was 250 KB, you made a release, how many lines did you change? Generally, you're not changing the whole 250 lines, right? 250 KB. Maybe you are introducing a change of 1 KB, few bytes. For a change of few bytes, you're charging me 250 KB. Is it fair? Fair? No, right? That's the petition I have as a user. Don't charge me, right? But then this is very different, right? You would say you only came again, right? You are asking my application. It's up to you. You will be charged. So with this question, with this thought, lots of people have been kind of, uh, you know, working upon. Here is this guy. Anyone recognize him? Any wild guess? Okay. I'm pretty sure you will recognize the next slide. Anyone recognize this site? Okay. Web page test, right? So web page test, I as a front-end developer, I feel this is superhero. Whatever maybe I would have done just because of this one site, right? Now this site was developed by this guy. He is Patrick Menon. Patrick Menon, out of his own interest, has developed this whole application. It is his side project, individual project. It has been, it was all this year, it was free. I think a few years back it was bought by Cash Point. So now it's a few of the features are paid, otherwise majority of it is free. This guy is actually superhero for all of us, for all the front-end developers. A reason being, not only he has given us a tool which simplifies our life to the hilt, he also tells us what to do. And then he takes the next step. He says, okay, the cheating which we have been doing with our users, you could actually fix it. How do we fix it? I think a year back, Google has released something called shared dictionary. So before I talk about shared dictionary, let me just spend some time on, again, file transfer, compression. So when we are transferring any asset from my origin to client, I'm ensuring that So the size which I have seen, right, 200 KB, actually it is not 200 KB. One more cheating, right? It must be 1 MB or something. I am using some compression. Either I am using gzip, Broadly, Z standard, something. And within this compression, again, there are different layers. And maybe I am using the highest level, right? Layer 7 or layer 11. That means I am ensuring that 1 MB file gets compressed to 200 KB, get transferred to you, and you are good. Then I do a release. Okay, I will not repeat, but you understood, right? So let's think a while. Can I do something like this? Can I say, first time when I'm sharing my asset, let's name it. Let's call it is main.js or main-v1.js. That means this is the first time a user is downloading one of my library at his or her browser. And the size was 200 KB. That time, if somehow I could tell to the browser that, okay, not only cache it, use it as a reference, something called use it as a dictionary. That was the motivation behind this, where now Chrome supports this feature. It is behind our origin trial. They say that, okay, you can actually, as a developer, I could take control of it and I can decide that among whatever I am shipping, some of this will be used as a dictionary. So that next time when I'm doing a main-v2, I'm not only generating main-v2, I'm also generating a diff of main-v2 over main-v1. That means now I have two assets. One main-v2, which could be 200 KB. One main-v2 hyphen diff.js, which may be 20 bytes, 1 KB. Is it sounding good? Is it a good world to be in? That now the promise I made in past that okay, this file is with you on your browser, it is valid for 30 days, it's actually is the case. Because next time I'm not transferring the everything over. I'm only transferring the diff. That's what shared dictionary do. How it works, I'll just quickly kind of jump into it. But yeah, whatever I think I spoke, I've written here. Yeah, so it can kind of eat up to 90% reduction, right? So take the example of 200 KB, maybe now you're shipping only 20 KB, right? How do we do it? Sounds very good, I think philosophical, and also maybe all of us would be interested to achieve it. How do we do it? There are some snippets. It all depends on two things. One, some right usage of headers. Second, right usage of some tooling. So what are those headers? Let's quickly look into it. I think all of us recognize except encoding. We have been using all through our life. Different kind of compression strategies. The two new which are introduced are br-d and z standard -d. Br is Broadly. So Broadly dictionary and z standard dictionary is the two new helps for us. Then you would see there is another header called available dictionary. And there is something, some gibberish, some hash. What's happening here is, let's say I as a developer decided that my main-v1.js should be used as a dictionary for future releases. I could while making the request for the next version of it. So let's say, okay, let me just make it clear. So you came to makeMyTrip.com for the first time. You got something downloaded on your browser. Now you are visiting makeMyTrip.com for the second time. So when you are visiting for the second time, what's happening? Your client is again going to make call for all the assets. This time when it is making the call, it would also insert these new headers. So when I say available dictionary and this hash actually refers to the previous main-v1.js which is available with you on your browser. And while serving main-v1.js, I would have used something called use as dictionary, match, and then give some regex. You could also generate your dictionary, which is very arbitrary, not pertaining to one file, but maybe very generic, and it pertains to collection of files. So you could write your regex here, what kind of file it should be targeting at. You could also actually control for how long this dictionary should work. So you could specify your TTL. So just by the combination of the first two, while serving I have mentioned that okay, this is a dictionary. While requesting I'm using this, I have some sort of a tool in my hand which allows me to kind of improve my experience. So this whole thing is true for all the static assets. I could actually do it also for dynamic assets. Say you ship something like configs, and it's a huge mammoth JSON file, right? And it keeps on changing because of whatsoever reason. You could also use something like a link tag with a new attribute for rel dictionary, and you can actually send dictionary with a .dat file, and you could just again do a diff, right? So all of this is still like within the origin trial, but very much available, being used on YouTube desktop browser, right? And it has kind of given YouTube almost optimized results of more than 90%. So first part we have discussed that okay, what are the headers we have to use? Second part, how do we actually generate it? So as we discussed, there are two headers, right? BR-D and Z standard-D. So broadly supports it. When you are actually doing a build of your assets, that is the time you could actually now start using some CLI for broadly, where you could say that okay, this main-v2.js, which is getting generated, use the previous copy as a reference and also generate a diff. So now in your public folder, you would have two copies, the complete copy and the diff copy. So that's pretty much about how we are ensuring that we are not no more breaking our promise. MakeMyTrip will soon adopt it, and when we adopt, we will announce. Now, let me just quickly jump into the section which definitely I want to go much more deeper. So see, my philosophy is today we are motivated, today we are talking about it, maybe in my next release I'll do it. Maybe my second release I'll do it. But day after, week after, month after, will I stay motivated? No, we are human, right? Humans are prone to be, non-consistent, and so is all of us. So we go through cycling motivation, right? So we have to ensure that if I'm talking about some performance, it should become part of process. If it is not part of process, it do not exist, right? So very quickly, I see there are three hooks which we could utilize, and we can take complete leverage of to ensure it's no more my choice, it's no more my team choice, it's become part of process. What I could do, I think all of us you are aware, during build pipeline, various solutions. One is at least you should get to know that when are you deviating from your benchmarks, right? So you could use performance hints from Webpack, which allows you to set some sort of a guardrails. You could very much say that in my web application, none of image can be more than 20 KB. If it is more than 20 KB, your build can fail. It can throw error, it can throw a body, totally up to you how do you want to configure, but you could do it. You could also say, none of my page should have so many connections, right? You could control connections, requests, size, time, almost everything. So this is a very simple example what all you could do during build. Similarly, once your build is ready, hopefully you will go through some sort of a test, right? So even you could leverage your test pipeline, and you will ensure that okay, I'm not deviating from my performance benchmarks. Very simple example, you could use Lighthouse CI, right, which is capturing the vitals, and the moment it sees that okay, you are deviating from your vital, it can very much halt your release. So these two parts is fine. This part is interesting, which is very different for front end compared to back end. In back end, you have an advantage. Every time someone accesses your one of the endpoint, you get a trace. So you know from where the request is coming, what kind of network, what kind of user agent, how much time it took, was it successful, fail, or whatever. In front end, it doesn't happen on its own. We have to put some effort, right? So that's where there are lots of solutions now, like real user monitoring. You could very much have your own solutioning where you are kind of capturing some insights, performance insights from your web application when it is running somewhere on someone's device. Push it to one of your server, put it to one of your dashboard, configure some alerts. So now you will get to know that not only my systems are same when it is built, my systems are same when it is tested. We can always also get to know my systems are same and safe when it is being consumed. That's pretty much. I think I'm in time. Thank you. There are some of the references. Okay, did I say this? Okay. So I'll share the slides over Twitter handle. So whatever I spoke, almost everything is covered here. We can go into detail and chat. Slides will be shared on my Twitter handle and also on Upfront91. So follow and get the access of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dhananjay. Requesting you to come up on stage until the Q&A session is done. So now for the next 5 minutes, if anybody has any questions, please go ahead.
Don't grill me for next 5 minutes.
Huh?
I said don't grill me for next 5 minutes. Okay. But yeah, any question?
Anybody?
Yeah.
Not a question, but when you showed the Chrome inspector, the 1.2 MB was actually all the assets.
Yes.
So you were actually doing quite good.
Thank you. Okay. So that was a compliment to make my trip, not a question. Oh, was it so clear? Okay. Yeah. We have one question here.
Thank you for the insightful session, first of all. And one question I have is that when you implement this new shared dictionary, so you have said that YouTube have already implemented it. How can we properly test this because all the assets are served from the CDN and we have limited control over it?
Very good question. And I think I missed, so thanks for I think asking this question. So what he's saying is right. You remember my first slide where I talked about 3 interfaces. You have the server, you have a CDN in between and the client. So it's not that I did everything on my application layer. I'm passing the right sort of header from my client and things will work out of magic. CDN also has to support. The good news is there are what I remember 2 or 3. I'm not sure about Akamai, but Cloudflare is already kind of supporting it. Right? So you could very much go and configure. So even all the CDNs would start understanding this header and they will start serving the right response. I hope that answers.
Yeah, thank you. Any more questions?
I think we have a question.
Thank you. So I was asking like most of the time you are talking about like sizing, but is it like going to create more of the like impact on the performance side from like processing side because now it has to like use the dictionary and the div and apply over on top of it, or is it like already compensating because we are not really kind of reading the whole new file? Is it being taken care somehow?
So if I understood your question, you're saying though I have reduced the size which is getting shipped over the wire, but maybe I have increased the overhead at the processing layer. Is that the right question?
Yeah, dictionary plus div.
Yeah, correct. So I think valid point.
Different mobile devices like might impact. And I had one more question, maybe you can cover. So you said like we are serving like 5,000 different devices, obviously, right? So only this transfer of the file size plus how you're talking about the layer 1, layer 2 kind of compression as well. I hope you are aware, like you can make us aware about. So is it something being taken care in the market, like in the total domain, that how it's not a very static thing that okay, just give me this file. They also take care that okay, because I'm talking from a mobile device, so I don't really want to spend so much energy on actually compression, but I'm using 5G, so it's easy for me to download a file from 5G instead of
Compression.
I don't want to compression. So,
No, I think great points. Both the points are good. So let me answer the second point because that I can recall right away. So see, when the request is going to your server, that's again in your control. So very much you could decide that okay, if I'm on a device which is low on processing power, like mobile, but good on network, you could very much say, okay, I don't care about the data transfer over the wire, but I do not want to do document processing. Point number one. Point number two, lot of it also can be done as a background, right? So it will identify when is the right movement. So when I spoke about the dynamic asset, right, which can be shipped as a dictionary using a link tag, actually that whole stuff happens when your main thread is free. Whenever browser identifies a time gap, when it can execute it, it does not block anything else. So browsers, all the browsers who are going to support it, they are going to kind of also ensure that they have a control over it. They do not kind of hinder with the critical path of rendering, right? But short answer of your question, yes, you have control and you can programmatically decide where you want optimization on data versus where you want optimization over processing.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dhananjay, for an enlightening session. You have shown us how crucial the performance pipeline for front-end development is. I'm sure everybody here is eager to apply these insights to their own projects. Let us give Dhananjay another round of applause for this fantastic session.